submission for today is Mary O'Connor, also coming in via audio visual link. No?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. You've got
me? Okay.
You've changed your name.
No.
It's showing up as Daniela Nolan.
Oh, sorry. It must be from a different. That's my daughter.
Right.
So I'm not sure.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. I've got a PowerPoint presentation.
Hopefully.
Right.
Yep,
Thank
here
you.
it comes.
And,
here it is.
Okay. In 5 minutes, I'm going to try to attempt a quick overview of why pedestrians don't count for Christchurch City Council and most councils. Where are the equivalent displays and signage for pedestrians? Next slide. A recent Freedom of Information gives council path surface options, non-pedestrian friendly, but you still allocate and spend millions on paths built for wheels, not feet. Next, asphalt is covering more and more of our parks. Go for a walk around Hagley and see unnecessary asphalt parks, some widened to 4 metres. They're free for alls with use speeds from 1 to 30 odd kilometres an hour. Retain natural surfaces where possible. Otherwise use recycled rubber and other softer materials. So paths are softer, don't get broken by tree roots, and are porous, so no camber required. Next, need to reduce the impact of forces through the body from foot strike, especially when running. Requires a complete rethink of infrastructure for pedestrians. Next, all public roads, parks, and paths are shared. So what's a shared path? Pedestrians need their own public spaces and paths designed for pedestrians and not shared with wheels, except allowance made for wheels pushed by pedestrians. Next, over the years, getting around Christchurch on foot has been slowed by introduced infrastructure like these. Next, does the council ever consider the vulnerability of pedestrians, or must they always fit in with cycling and vehicle plans? Next, older style gutters ensured no sideways camber on footpaths at driveways. Newer style gutters result in priority to vehicles over pedestrians on footpaths. Next, why must footpaths accommodate other users, or are footpath obstructions not considered and so ignored? Next, anyone consider the consequences for pedestrians of hire scooters and bike schemes, often left for days? Next, you have prohibited dogs from some areas to protect wildlife and from beaches in summer and created dog exercise areas in parks. But for legal roads and surrounds, it's dogs on a leash, and for most parks under effective control, all regularly ignored. There is a need for dog-free parks to protect people. I'd like the council to begin by making Napuna Wai dog-free to protect the general public and especially athletes whose career could be ruined by a dog bite. Hopefully later this can be extended to other parks. Next, when flax is planted, it may be well clear of paths, but can grow to encroach on many places on two paths, creating a hazard for pedestrians. Next, the Port Hills is a great area for recreation and natural surroundings, but there is conflict between mountain biking and pedestrians. The proposed mountain bike track on Montgomery Spur to enter and exit onto already busy Rapaki track will be dangerous. Freedom of info and visual counts show pedestrians are not counted by the installed counter at the gate, as it only counts moving metal, bikes, the gate opening, but not pedestrians. At busy times, hourly averages suggest an excess of 400 movements per hour, yet the council proposes a mountain bike track to enter and exit onto Rapaki at a hilly point. Next, why create what will be a dangerous intersection on an already busy road? With the adventure park making the present purpose of Montgomery Spur mountain bike track unnecessary, a safer option is to make Montgomery Spur pedestrian only, especially with its peak and views so close to flat Christchurch. Next, waste of time and money to provide a less safe option. Unnecessary urbanising of tracks on Port Hills is detrimental to safety and the natural tracks and uniqueness. Next, Bentley Clark Reserve would benefit from being no cycling, As from these photos, you can see there is insufficient width. Standing slightly will not prevent anyone from going through the reserve and will encourage more pedestrians, plus allow children to wander and explore. Cyclists also damage path areas. Next, better scrutiny of council money is required. Why encourage faster speeds by wheels through a playground? Freedom of Info request states no paths widened and none created. Totally incorrect. Also, that there was no plans for the works. How could a contract for over 85,000 be let without a plan for the paths? Next, better infrastructure for pedestrians includes public toilets. The council has many that are safe and available for all, and many thanks for these. Next, however, Somerfield Park and a few others are not safe and accessible. Now for over a month, the gate locked, out of order, we're working on it. Obviously not. Where's the priority for safety and toilet provision for those with physical conditions necessitating public toilet provision? Next, a bizarre cycleway near the hospital goes from road across footpath, then abruptly stops, soon after over 100 metres on the road. I hope you will ensure a complete rethink of the pedestrian environment so it's improved to be pedestrian friendly. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for going to all of that trouble in terms of the PowerPoint presentation. It's excellent.
Well, I've given a few of these now, and no one thanks me again. You thank me for them, but that's all that happens.
Right.
And if we want health and well-being of people, the most available is pedestrian activities, and yet if someone who was overweight went to the doctor and the doctor said, well, you know, you need to go out and get some exercise, they're likely to come back 3 weeks later and says, well, I did what you said, doc. I went out and all, and now my knees, because of the hard surfaces, are painful and I can't do it anymore. You know, we've got to think about these sort of things. Pedestrian activities are for health and well-being as well as a means of transport. And I think that's also been ignored.
There's a regular walker around Hagley Park. I couldn't agree more. Aaron?
Yeah, that is feedback a number of us had. That was an incredibly crammed up presentation, lots of information. So thank you so much for all of that work, like the Mayor said. I've got a question for you around with people using other modes like bikes and scooters and things around bell usage. Like some people over years have said we should have to have bells, and I'm a fan of the bell. How do you feel about the bell? Would that make it better or not? And I will also say around the hospital there's been no reported incidents of cycle versus pedestrian, even though it's the busiest spot in the entire city for both, which is a positive. Yeah, so it's a perceived issue there, but it hasn't actually eventuated into an incident that I know of.
Well, it's the only cycle path I know that is closest to the property line. Anywhere or most other places, the pedestrian is closest, and so you've got pedestrians who are crossing the cycle path in two places, and I just don't understand why it's put on the inside and the pedestrians are between the cycleway and the road. And the thing about bells, it's also the week for what do you call it? You know, the deaf.
Yeah.
And so you've got people who are deaf using these areas, and bells, insisting on bells probably doesn't encourage them to feel that they're safe, because they won't hear bells.
Right, okay, thank you.
That's lovely. Look, thank you very much for your submission, and that brings today's submissions to a close, and that means that I haven't got my... What am I doing?
Closing the meeting.
Oh, so that's the completion of the submissions. So I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much.